When you said barn burner, you meant barn burner. That was gorgeous. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. And welcome to this very special Sunday worship service. I am the Reverend Dr. Elizabeth Stevens, and I am lucky enough to serve this congregation as its minister. I have the best job in the world. I serve the best people in the world. Now, today is the culmination of an 8-year process of discernment and planning and fundraising, demolition and construction, moving out and moving in, all to create this beautifully renovated and expanded building. Our guiding light through the whole process was the principle of radical hospitality. Our faith teaches us to welcome everyone and anyone. We understand that it's a journey, not a destination, but for us, having this space with the elevator and the automatic doors and all those accessible bathrooms, 9 bathrooms. It's a really big deal. Because not only does it make it possible for us to warmly welcome everyone and anyone, it allows us to better serve the wider community in so many ways. Here at the UU Church of the Palouse, we live out our deeply held conviction that all human beings are precious, beloved, and worthy of compassion and respect. We put love at the center, and this building is truly a labor of love. So it's fitting that we start our celebration this morning by saying the words of welcome we say every week together. Will you please join me? Whether this is your first or your 1,000th Sunday with us, and whether you strolled, rolled, zoomed, ran, or danced in, we are glad you chose to join us. We are one people of many beliefs, identities, origins, sexualities, and genders. All are welcome here. So we're going to take just a minute to say hello across the technological divide. So first, people at home, would you please turn your cameras on? People joining us on Zoom? I'll give you just a minute. I'm watching them. Okay. All right, now, people at home, wave. Okay, now folks in the sanctuary, it's your turn. We're also going to take just a moment to acknowledge that this church was built on the ancestral homelands of the Nimipu, called Nez Perce by the French-speaking traders, the Palouse and the Shishumsh, called the Coeur d'Alene. We pause and remember that we live on ground that is sacred, ground that was stolen, ground that cries out for justice and for responsible stewardship. May our remembering help us find the courage to do our part to restore wholeness to the earth and her peoples. Now we're hoping that people at home have a candle or a chalice to light and something to light it with. And I'd like to invite the Lixets forward to light our chalice here. And there we go. Awesome job, Luke. Thank you. In the light of truth and the warmth of love, we gather to seek and seek to share. Please rise for our sung affirmation. From all that dwell below the skies, let songs of hope and love arise. Let beauty, truth, and good be sung in every land by every tongue. Please be seated. Our opening words are a piece called A House for Our Dreams by Dory Summers. We, all of us, build houses for our dreams, the masonry and lumber, glass and tiles, a solid form wherein we see our hopes, a shelter and protection for our growth. This house shall be a dwelling place for courage, for integrity, for love, engendered, nourished by a family that speaks of we and means all humankind. These walls shall represent the privacy and dignity of individuals, the open doors, a welcome to all people, all ages, and all generations. The windows shall keep light of inquiry illumining from outside and within. May all words spoken here be born of love, and energy rekindle in the hearts of those who dreamed this house, who plied the tools and paid the price to actualize the dream. May dreaming never cease for those within who know the world to be a troubled place, but dare to struggle with imperfectness toward that brighter hope, that better day. Let memories add warmth, a heritage, a quilted patchwork stitched with history of kindliness, of daring for the good, of funny moments, jokes and smiles and tears. This is a precious place, as every home that shelters those who love and strive and share. Its blessing is in lives that meet within, in living, learning, caring, sheltered here. I invite you to rise again. Let's sing hymn number 1 in the gray hymnal, May Nothing Evil. May nothing evil cross his door, and may fortune never proud about these windows. May the roar and rain go by. By faith made strong, these rafters will withstand the battering of the storm. This dark though all the world grow chill will keep us warm. So we are very lucky this morning to have with us representatives from the city government of both Moscow and Pullman. I'd like to invite Mayor Art Betegy forward to bring us greetings.
Thanks, everybody. This space has changed a lot since the last time I was here, which was about 9 or 10 years ago, up here in this very podium. You guys have progressed beautifully. The dedication and construction that you people have done here is fantastic. You got an award from the Historic Preservation Commission, the Orchid Award, which recognizes your efforts in maintaining the historical context of this building and the way it's put together that reflects both the history and the aspirations for the future for this building. And the building itself is magnificent, ADA accessibility and everything else that goes along with it. Well done indeed. But then as I reflected on this, it's not so much the building itself that's important, it's you people who are out here, because you're the ones that really make what this group is all about, the equity, the acceptance, and generally get along well with civility in the city. And you guys set a really good example of that. So I hope that the building here is an inspiration that provides you with a context to go forward on your own. It beats standing around in a circle out in the fog this morning. And so I do hope these walls provide a safe and nurturing experience for you that you can then take forth into the rest of the community. So please do that. And also I would be remiss if I didn't mention that we have elections coming up. Get yourself registered. Better, get yourself well informed about the candidates for both the council and the school board. And then most important of all, please go out and vote and add to the totality of your influence that you can have in town of making Moscow not only the good place it is, but better. Thanks.
And now Councilman Nathan Weller from Pullman.
We are spiritual beings having a human experience. The universe trying to understand itself. This quote has always made me pause and look around a little different at life. My name is Nathan Weller. I have the great honor to speak to you today at this building dedication, thanks to the welcoming nature of the Unitarian Universalist Church of the Palouse. I've been very much on my own spiritual journey for most of my life, diving into religious texts such as the Tanakh, Book of Mormon, Quran, King James Bible, the Tripitaka, Tao Te Ching, and the Bhagavad Gita, and others trying to discover how to be a better human being. As I looked into the UUCP, I found a number of principles that align with these teachings and inspired me. A focus on dignity, equity, compassion, democratic process, acceptance, encouragement to spiritual growth, truth, meaning, respect for the interdependent web of existence, and the goal of peace, liberty, and justice for all. I believe these are not only what's important in the development of a fair, equitable, just society, but also a balanced, enlightened human being. I was asked to address two questions today. How do you see the UUCP Church benefiting the community, and how can we maximize our efforts? Now, I don't know all of the programs in the congregation, but here's what I believe is important for our communities. We should adopt a regional philosophy and regional collaboration. And don't get me wrong, it's important for us to be global or think global and act local. But sometimes a country we're trying to help thousands of miles away feels closer than the distance to the rural areas of Washington and Idaho. I'm not saying it's wrong to help others across the world, because I've volunteered to build housing and hand out food in Nogales, Mexico. What I am saying is that poverty, homelessness, suicide, mental health, and other challenges are here and will continue to grow in Pullman, Moscow, and surrounding areas. They also need our volunteers and support. The UUCP is unique. It can provide forums about important topics in our region while collaborating with a variety of organizations and projects, which I know you do quite a bit of. More importantly, you have the knowledge, support, an open-minded approach to foster and grow impactful community members, community leaders that are so desperately needed in our region and world today. Ones that will listen to everyone and be guided not by dogma or dictate, but by good intentions and informed action. I will leave you with this question. How do you measure the value of your life? By money, by the time spent at a job, by what you have or what you do? I can only answer for myself. When I was a child, my teacher asked, "What do you want to do when you grow up?" I told her, "Do good things." Today, I'm still growing and will till the day I die. But I know what I want to do, to have a positive impact on the world, to do good things. And I believe you do as well. Thank you, Judy Muth, for inviting me, Reverend Stevens, and all of you for being so welcoming to me. Have an awesome day.
We are embedded in the fabric of our local community, and we are also embedded in the larger Unitarian Universalist Association. And so I am so glad that we have with us today Carlton Smith, who is the regional lead for the western region of the United States, everything west of the Colorado, no, everything west of the Mississippi, right, west of the Rockies. West of the Rockies. Geography was not my best subject. We also have Mary Nordhagen, who is the president of the Mountain Desert District, and Pat Scott's daughter. Pat was a much beloved member of this congregation for years and years and years, and we miss her terribly. Mary and Carlton.
Good morning. As Elizabeth said, I'm Mary Nordhagen, president of the Mountain Desert District of the Unitarian Universalist Association, members of the transition team for the UUA's Pacific Western region, and longtime member of the UU Fellowship of Missoula, Montana.
And again, I'm Reverend Carlton E. Smith, lead for the Pacific Western region, and that means that I manage the team that works with roughly 200 UU congregations and covenanting communities in states from the Rockies and West and a little bit further east than that, including Alaska and Hawaii. And I get to work with extraordinary volunteer leaders like Mary.
I am so happy to be here today. When Carlton asked me to represent the region on this auspicious occasion, I was excited to be able to share this time with this wonderful congregation. And after last night's program, all I can say is, wow, what a program. And that program would not have been possible without all of those wonderful memories and all of the wonderful love that you guys provided over the years. This church holds a special place in my heart. It is the first UU church I ever attended, and for many years I visited at least somewhat regularly with my mother, Pat Scott. The first time I was in this wonderfully renovated, reimagined space was for her memorial service. I think the only other time that I've ever spoken here was at my father's memorial, Don Scott. I remember looking at my brother and saying, you know, in Dad's memory, we really should start on time. But that was not easy to do, as it was quite a full house. Maybe not so full as today, but close. In fact, seeing that tremendous show of love and support was really what made me decide to check out the UU congregation in Missoula. And so I have this congregation to thank for what has become a very important part of my life. And this is always the hard part. From the time they moved to Moscow, my parents found a real home here. They were active, involved members, so I know firsthand how much this congregation has added to the lives of its members. They were quite social people. Purchases and sales at the annual silent auction were always welcome additions to their social life. And I think I got to go to one of those, a Feast of the Tomatoes that was talked about a little bit last night. That was awesome. Over the years, through several different thoughtfully called and interim ministers, this congregation has remained strong and thriving. While many, if not most, of the members I knew best are no longer here, it makes my heart happy to know that this community that supported them and added such meaning to their lives will live on. Thank you.
And Reverend Elizabeth, I see in you the continuation of all you learned while you were a student at Starr King School for the Ministry when our paths crossed. Your professors of beloved memory, Dr. Ibrahim Farajage and Reverend Yelbanzi Charles Johnson are present with us today and adding to the glow and the joy of this hour. Indeed, we honor all that has brought you, members and friends of UU Church of the Palouse, to this moment. I remember watching an NBC News report on the rise of Christian nationalism here in Moscow, one in which Reverend Elizabeth spoke prophetically as a voice reflecting Unitarian Universalist values of love, justice, interdependence, equity, and pluralism, which are also articulated in the proposed revisions to our association's bylaws, and you have prominently displayed on your walls. I was very impressed. We know that it is difficult to maintain a liberal religious presence in a town and in a state pulling towards exclusion, injustice, inequity, and monism. For this reason, we shined a spotlight on UU Church of the Palouse in our regional newsletter last fall so that other congregations in towns, large, medium, and small, could be inspired by your bold shared ministry. We thank you for being an honor congregation in our association. That is, one that contributes the full amount requested towards our annual program fund, the largest source of unrestricted funds to support our collective work of equipping congregations for health and vitality, supporting and training lay leaders and professional leaders alike, and advancing Unitarian Universalist values in the world. We celebrate your thriving and this beautiful structure you've created together. It will attract more individuals and families to our vision of a beautiful world where all loving hearts belong. For many generations to come, may what you have done together here continue to be a blessing to this community, this state, this country, and this world. May it be so.
Beloveds at UU Church of the Palouse, congratulations. It fills me with joy and gratitude to be able to celebrate with you on this day. Not only your historic achievement, look at what you have made, but also I come with gratitude for your ministry in the world. Thank you for the ways that you model and live out the love that lives at the center of this faith. Not only to one another, but to your surrounding community. Love that is so deeply needed in these days. You are not alone in this work. We are together in this movement of bringing our liberal and liberating faith into the world. On this day, as you bless this sanctuary and these buildings, may you know that this is a container not only for your hopes and dreams and connections to one another, but also for the legacy that you bring to bear in community. Blessings, beloveds, on this day and every day. And may you know that your ministry together matters. May it be so. Amen. Ashe. Blessed.
That was the Reverend Dr. Sophia Betancourt, the president of the Unitarian Universalist Association. She's very sorry she couldn't make it to be here with us today, and she's promised she'll come later. So now I'd like to take a moment to offer recognition and thanks to people who made this beautiful spiritual home possible. And I'm speaking of literally millions of hours of volunteer labor, financial gifts, large and small, for this project and for all of the years prior. The creation of our new home began with a vision in 1945. A discussion group was founded by Dr. Willis Merriam, a geology professor at Washington State University, and another was founded here in Moscow, Idaho by John Brocklebank, a University of Idaho law school professor. The two groups merged, bought a building, sold a building, bought this building and renovated it, bought the yellow house and renovated it, all while loving, laughing, and living as a community dedicated to spiritual and intellectual freedom. Only one of our founders is still living, Coralie Borning, but there are many others whose sacrifices built this community who are no longer with us. So we're going to take a moment, and I'd invite members of this community to say aloud into the space the names of the people who laid the foundations on which we've built our community and our lives. Marguerite Thorson, Pat Scott, Jim Woodell, Jean Jacobson, Chuck Harris, Harold and Harriet Dodgen, Beth Turney, Bill Parks. And so many others. Sue Congleton, she's the artist who painted the triptych. Bernie Borning. Do you feel them with us? I feel them with us. So we offer them our gratitude. I also want to offer thanks to the people and volunteers still living who helped make this project possible. 8 years ago, we began to talk about the ways our physical buildings were both holding us and holding us back. We entered into a time of collective discernment and eventually decided to make a mighty leap of faith, raising millions of dollars to renovate our historic sanctuary and build the beautiful and fully accessible addition. Did we say Paula? Did we say Paula Seipel, Jean? Paula's here too. So we entered into a time of collective discernment and eventually decided to make a mighty leap of faith, raising millions of dollars to renovate and expand. I'm still a little stunned that we actually managed to pull it off. It took the time, talents, and treasures of many, many people, and there are a few in particular who I'd like to recognize. beginning with the professionals that we hired to help us. Rachel Maxwell. Our amazing stewardship consultant who helped us dream and stretch and believe and then raise the funds that we needed. Lawrence Rose. The talented architect whose relational approach was such a good fit for our community and this project, and who worked tirelessly with us to perfect a design that works so beautifully. Thank you, Lawrence. And Golis Construction, who took the vision and made it a reality, handling all of the inevitable challenges with grace and skill. In particular, I want to thank Roger Shattuck, the lead contractor for this project. He was utterly brilliant and found solutions to every problem, and there were a lot of them that came up. In addition to the professionals that we hired, so many members of the UUCP volunteered at all of the various stages of this project and deserve a little recognition. So I'm going to ask that we hold our applause until we get to the end of the list, because probably most of the people in the room are going to be on their feet. So the facilities discernment team, either rise or raise your hand. The facilities discernment team skillfully herded the Unitarian Universalist cats into the place where we all were able to come together and commit to this common vision. The building committee, who served on the building committee? I invite you to rise or raise your hand. Ably chaired by Al Poplawski, the building committee helped refine the design, met through the entire construction process and beyond to address issues, refine ideas, and solve those problems that I mentioned. The Capital Campaign Committee, ably led by Martha Schmidt. And everybody did a great job, but I really want to lift up Martha in particular, because there were so many moments when we almost chickened out and went small. And Martha's calm, prophetic, solid, clear voice would just say, "We can do this." And we did. Thank you, Martha, and the rest of the people who served as stewards or on the committee. I want to thank the Move Out crew, especially Archie George and Margaret Dibble. Yep. And my son Daniel is supposed to be here. I volunteered my children as slave labor for the move out process too. And if he had been here, I would have said thank you, but apparently where is he? There you are. Hey, Daniel. I told them they had to help. The move-in crew, particularly Ginger Yoder and Ryan Uri, who essentially, Ryan, I think, is with the kids. Essentially became our handy person, and just, he installed hardware, he painted furniture, he basically, every day I'd come in and it would look a little less like a rummage sale and a little bit more like a church. And now we have this beautiful space, and he's still doing it. Just this past week, he added a handle to the sliding door in the kitchen so that you can open and shut it from inside. I want to thank the chair brigade, Donna Bradbury and crew. These chairs are so much more comfortable than the old ones. I want to thank the tech team, especially Pat First and Sam Welsh, who ably stepped in when Pat needed to step back. I want to thank the aesthetics committee, who ensured that the space is beautiful as well as functional. And last but not least, let's put up the photograph. These two. It is such a shame that they can't be with us here today. They've got family obligations that got in the way, but Joel was here almost every day during the entire construction. He was the liaison to our contractors, and he and Mary Jo just walked us through the whole thing. So We definitely would not be here without them. I also want to thank everyone who contributed financially to the Capital campaign. You know, when I came back from my sabbatical, the price tag for the project had jumped by $500,000. And I actually called Rachel and I said, you know, I don't doubt their will, but I doubt their capacity. You have got to downgrade their expectations, or I'm going to have a pastoral crisis on my hands. I was actually pretty upset. And so, having said that, well, and I think what I said was, we don't have any Microsoft millionaires here on the Palouse. So I want to publicly apologize to all of you. Beloveds, I will never doubt anything about any of you ever again. Will you please stand or raise your hand if you contributed time, talent, or treasure to make this magnificent project come to fruition? And on that note, we're going to take a moment to engage in the practice of generosity together. For those of you who are able to make a financial contribution, the logistics are on your screen. For those of you who don't come regularly, you should know that we give away all of the cash that we collect in our Sunday offering every week to local charities whose missions align with our values. We call this program A Month of Sundays. This month, your donations are going to benefit Family Promise of the Palouse, whose mission is to empower families with children experiencing homelessness so that they can achieve sustainable independence for a more promising future. To donate, please indicate Month of Sundays on your check or from the online drop-down menu. In the spirit of love and for the continuing work of this church, we'll now take some time to practice generosity together. So we are shortly going to hear an original choral piece composed for the occasion by Dan Buckfish. And we were prepared to pay him, but he refused to let us. So we were able to hire a large portion of the jazz choir to come and sing for us. So thank you to the jazz choir as well. This whole thing was Sam's idea. So then he turned to me and said, we need to come up with a text to give to Dan to set to music. I thought about it for a little bit, and then I suggested Letter to a Young Activist During Troubled Times by Clarissa Pinkola Estes. And we've read this piece pretty much every year during our in-gathering service for at least the last 5 years, maybe more. For me, it serves as an annual reminder of who we are and why what we do matters so very much. It's kind of a long piece, so I'm inviting forward my colleagues, all of whom have served as ministers of this congregation. Harold Rosen, our very first minister, Joan Montagnes, who served from 1997, and Tracy Springberry, our very first ministerial intern. Will you please come forward and help me share this piece?
I will try not to cry. Do not lose heart. We were made for these times. I have heard from so many recently who are deeply and properly bewildered. They are concerned about the state of affairs in our world right now. Ours is a time of almost daily, jaw-dropping astonishment and often righteous rage over the latest degradations of what matters most to civilized, visionary people. You are right in your assessments. The luster and hubris some have aspired to, while endorsing acts so heinous against children, elders, everyday people, the poor, the unguarded, the helpless, is breathtaking. Yet, I urge you, ask you, gentle you, to please not spend your spirit dry by bewailing these difficult times. Especially do not lose hope, most particularly because the fact is, we were made for these times.
We have been in training for a dark time such as this since the day we ascended to come to earth. For many decades worldwide, souls just like us have been felled and left for dead in so many ways over and over. Brought down by naivete, lack of love, by suddenly realizing one deadly thing or another, by not realizing something else soon enough, by being ambushed and assaulted by various cultural and personal shocks in the extreme. We have a history of being gutted, and yet remember this especially. We have also, of necessity, perfected the knack of resurrection. Believe the evidence of any one of your past testings and trials. Here it is. Are you still alive and surviving? The answer is yes. And no adverbs like barely are allowed. If you are still alive and surviving, ragged flags or no, you are able. Thus, you have passed the bar and even raised it. You are seaworthy.
Ours is not the task of fixing the entire world all at once, but of stretching out to mend the world that is within our reach. Any small, calm thing that one soul can do to help another soul, to assist some small, this poor suffering world will help immensely. It is not given to us to know which acts or by whom will cause the critical mass to tip forward toward enduring good. What is needed for dramatic change is an accumulation of acts, adding to, adding more, continuing. We know that it does not take everyone on earth to bring justice and peace, but only a small, determined group who will not give up in the first, second, or 100th gale. One of the most calming and powerful actions you can do to intervene in a stormy world is to stand up and show your soul. Soul on deck shines like gold in dark times. The light of the soul throws sparks, can send up flares, builds signal fires, causes proper matters to catch fire. To display the lantern of the soul in shadowy times like these, to be fierce and to show mercy toward others, both are acts of immense bravery and greatest necessity. Struggling souls catch light from other souls who are fully lit and willing to show it. If you would help to calm the tumult, this is one of the strongest things you can do.
There will always be times in the midst of success right around the corner, but as yet still unseen, when you feel discouraged. I too have felt despair many times in my life, but I do not keep a chair for it. I will not entertain it. It is not allowed to eat from my plate. The reason is this. In my uttermost bones, I know something, as do you. It is that there can be no despair when you remember why you came to earth, who you serve, and who sent you here. The good words we say and the good deeds we do are not ours. They are the words and deeds of the one who brought us here. In that spirit, I hope you will write this on your wall. When a great ship is in harbor and moored, it is safe, there can be no doubt. But that is not what great ships are built for. Thank you. And I'd invite the choir to come forward.
We were made for these times. You are never alone. This is all we can know. We were made for these times.
So our preacher this morning is the one and only, the amazing Reverend Cheryl M. Walker, one of my dearest friends, one of the best preachers I know, and the chair of the Article 2 Commission, which brought us our new articulation of values that you see on the banners in the wall. So Cheryl, thank you so much for coming. Yeah.
Move that down a little bit. Well, good morning, everyone. I would like to first thank you. Thank you for inviting me to participate in this fabulous day. The last time I was with you, I was on Zoom. It is so much nicer to see you all in person and for you to know exactly how short I actually am. It's a wonderful day. It's a glorious day as you dedicate the renovation and expansion of your building. So before coming to Idaho, I was able to read the feasibility study prepared by Rachel Maxwell of the Unitarian Universalist Association of Congregations. And one of the comments I read said that services are too long. So I will try to keep my remarks brief, but I make no promises. You know, you can find out a lot about a congregation from a good feasibility study. You really can. And this one, Rachel, was excellent. I felt I knew so much about this congregation after reading it. Of course, I have over the years heard much about you from your minister, Reverend Elizabeth. But hers is not an unbiased opinion. She loves you. What Rachel was able to uncover in her study was not just the numbers, can they do it, but a sense of who you are as a congregation, your commitment to each other, and your commitment to this community. As she wrote in her report, you are a remarkable congregation filled with love and committed people. You care for each other and the world. Congratulations on all you have done toward creating beloved community. You are building a better world. I suspect that was not news to you. Excuse me. But it must have been good for you to hear that from someone else. If you didn't already know that you were a remarkable congregation, you would not have embarked on this ambitious project. Well, the money could be here, and it was. Money's never the real issue. But if the heart and the soul weren't on board, you would have done nothing. You could have had endless conversations about the need for this renovation and expansion, and apparently you did. But you'd still be talking rather than doing. Instead, what you did was to pour all of your being into making this day happy, and you should all be happy and, yes, exceedingly proud of what you have done. When I arrived in town on Friday, Reverend Elizabeth took me on a tour of the building. And I can see why you have already won awards for it. It is a seamless blend between what was, what is, and what shall be. You have kept the heritage of this church and blended what was with what the needs are of the congregation today. And it is also clear that you were thinking about what you may do in the future. Wow. This also came from Rachel's report. UUCP is an ambitious congregation with a large, strong, and committed group of lay leaders and a beloved, settled minister. They envision the new and old spaces supporting a wider presence in the greater community and a larger congregation. They see UUCP as a hub and a home for the liberal values lived in the Palouse community. I like the fact that she called you ambitious. Not just due to the scope of the project, but that you would think of this project at all in these times, in these very uncertain times. Let's talk about it. Religion, and in particular liberal religion, quite frankly, is in trouble. Attendance at worship services of all stripes and all faiths continue to decline. The scandals of clergy misconduct, the co-opting of the church for political reasons, and the growing sense of religion as irrelevant in today's society all contribute to making religion a dirty word. People want to be spiritual, but not religious. Well, you can be spiritual all by your lonesome, but you can only be religious in community. You can't be religious by yourself. Maybe you could be pious, but you can't be religious because religion is about community. So to undertake a project such as this, when all the signs point in the opposite direction, is indeed bold and ambitious. Wow. It goes back to your commitment to each other and the community, and it is a reflection of your commitment to this religion, Unitarian Universalism. You believe in the values of this faith. You even put them on the walls. Very good. And what this faith needs from you, and in fact, what this faith needs from everyone who calls themselves a Unitarian Universalist, is a renewed commitment. We all need to be as ambitious and bold as you have been. And you have a hope for the future of Unitarian Universalism. Hope for the future of this congregation, hope for the future of this community, and hope for the future of this world. If you really thought there was no hope for humanity, you would have built an ark. Instead, you built a house of hope in times of despair. And no doubt, these are despairing times. Our divisions are so great, and they are tearing us apart. We are suffering from the consequences of abusing and ignoring Earth for so long. There are attacks on the most vulnerable in our nation and our world. There's a rise of autocracy and erosion of democracy, and it will be so easy to succumb to despair and hide under the covers in our comfy little lives. But you said no. We shall not do that. We shall believe in the future and build a monument to our past and a beacon to our funeral. You said that. So it is indeed an exciting time in the life of this congregation. And while it was not always easy to accomplish what you have done, I'm sure there was anxiety. I'm sure there was doubt. You overcame all of that. So let's celebrate this fine day and let's have a party. Can I get an amen? Amen. But before we do, I have one question for you. Not really for today, but for tomorrow. Now what? You have done all the hard work of planning and designing and building and even paying for this building. And in a moment, you will officially dedicate the building, and then there will be a party with dancing. And then what? What will you do with this great building? It is not your field of dreams. If you build it, they will come. It is not your sanctuary from the storms around you, though it can be that. It cannot be just that. And it is a thing of beauty. But there are a lot of beautiful empty churches. So now what? Well, the first thing I think you might want to do is nothing. I know, you're just freaking out over there, aren't you? What?
I trust you.
That's a radical concept for Unitarian Universalists. Intentionally doing nothing. You have been working very hard for a long time. The list of people who have devoted so much of their time and energy to this project is a very, very long one. And you are tired. You're excited, yes. But you are tired, and you deserve to take a rest for a moment. Just enjoy the building. Go outside and see the stained glass chalice window. Count all the bathrooms. I understand there are 9. Visit all the spaces. Experience this building and imagine what it might become. But don't rush to do something else. A project like this brings a community together in a special way because you are now all bound together because you had a tangible, attainable goal. Everyone pitched in because you knew that when it was done, there would be something you could see, touch, and feel. It's real. So enjoy this moment. But you cannot stay there, happily just enjoying your accomplishment, because you may have built a church that is radically inclusive, welcoming, You may have built a church that is radically welcoming, but can you build a congregation that is radically inclusive? They are not the same thing. Sure, come on in, but don't let us be changed by you. Whereas if you are inclusive, come in. We welcome you. Be a part of us. Change us as we change you. Can you do that? You may have built a church with a commercial kitchen, but whom will you feed? You heard the mayor say that there are, and the council person, talk about the needs of this community. There is hunger here. There is poverty here. Will you feed them? You have expanded the capacity. But how will you let the people know you are here? Will you whisper it? Or will you shout it out? These are not simple questions, and they don't have easy answers. Because you see, ultimately, changing a building is relatively simple once you've worked out all the details. Changing a congregation is never easy. Because like the old building, you keep what is good and right about you and who you are and who you were. But also like the building expansion, you may have to rid yourselves of some things in order to make room for some things and someone's new. And you can't hire a construction company to make changes to a congregation the way you can make changes to a building. This is strictly a DIY project. You must do all the work. When you embarked on this journey to this day and this building, you were given a choice of 4 things to do. You would do nothing. Would you do a little? Would you leave, or would you dream big? Well, you chose to dream big. Oh, yes, you did. Now, not everyone was agreed about what to do, but you made the decision as a whole to dream big as a congregation. And now you may be asked once again, will you do nothing? Will you do a little? Will you leave? Or will you once again dream big? And once again, you will not be agreed on what to do. But remember this day. Remember, you chose to dream big, and you made those dreams come true. Because that is the ultimate lesson of this day. When we come together, we can do great things, things we may have once thought were impossible. You are indeed a remarkable congregation filled with love and committed people. That is apparent not just in the building, but in the stories you tell of this church and its people. The stories of being invited to come to church at the farmers market. The stories of lessons learned by young people and how they inform who they are and what they should do in the world. It is the stories of care when a person in a wheelchair needed a way into church and people found a way. These stories you tell of who you were and who you are the foundations of who you can be. Remember them. Build upon them. Tell new stories. Create stories of becoming radically inclusive, more than just radically welcoming. Create stories of reaching out as much as reaching in. Create new stories of sharing our faith with the many people who need to hear the good news of Unitarian Universalism. And one day people will say of you, they rebuilt a church and then they rebuilt a congregation of true beloved community, and they will know that you have been a blessing to this world. Remember this day and rejoice and be glad for what you have done and what you shall do together. Amen. Blessed be. Ashe. You are loved.
I was going to invite you forward. I appear. The heart of this community, the best partner in ministry anyone could possibly ask for. The amazing Linda Yoda. And I knew she had to be here for this part because it's time to actually bless the building. Now, our faith teaches that each and every one of us is capable of blessing and of being a blessing in the world. So we're going to do this together.
So if you are close to a window or a wall or a pillar, please lay a hand on it. And if you're not, lay a hand on the shoulder of someone nearby, but with consent. Ask first. Find someone else if they're not comfortable. It's okay not to be comfortable. And what we're doing is through all of these ways, we're weaving connections here. We're weaving a web to one another and then into the sacred space.
Are we ready? Let's take a deep breath or two. Focus all of our love and attention and intention on our dreams for the future and the reason we are here. And now repeat after us. May the walls of this house be strong in the face of storms. May the walls of this house be strong in the face of storms. Whether of winds or of words. Whether of thunder or of tyranny.
May the windows of this house be clear to the world's light. Whether of dawns or of daring. Whether of sunsets or of stillness.
May the foundations of this house be firm upon the good earth. Whether of soil or of sharing. Whether of bedrock or behavior.
May the doors of this house be wide to all those who come afar. Whether poems or people. Whether songs or strangers.
May this house embrace like a graceful chalice. The flame it cannot define or limit. As a heart enshrines hopes larger than its beating walls. Amen. Ashe. Blessed be. You are loved. I'm stealing that, Cheryl. And now let's sing. Please say with me now the words to embody our chalice flame. We extinguish this chalice. Filled with hope and gratitude and love, let us go forth knowing that we dreamed big and we're going to continue to dream big, knowing that our love has the power to shine a light in this hurting world, knowing that we are ready. We were made for these times, and what we do matters. What we do matters. I love you so very much. I'm so proud of us. Go in peace. Come back next Sunday.